Hi class, welcome to Introduction to Psychology. My name is Mariana Serena Angolwan, a psychology professor from Trinity University of Asia. And right now, I'm going to talk about the psychology of the science of behavior and mental processes. So this would be the introduction for this subject. Before we officially start, let's talk about the topic objectives of this lesson. So after the end of this module, the student should be able to, first, trace the development of psychology as a science, and second, identify the pioneers and conclude on the relevance of their contributions. Now let's talk about psychology. Psychology is derived from two Greek words, psyche, which means mind or spirit, and logos, which means study. So in simple terms, psychology in here, based from the two definitions from a Greek words, is that it is the study of mind or spirit. However, in further literature, psychology is now being defined differently. So in here, psychology is defined as a scientific study of human behavior and mental processes. So in here, I would like to emphasize more on it uses scientific study, which means it focuses on the scientific methods, and it focuses on the human behavior and mental processes. Later on, I'll be discussing to you what is human behavior, and the mental processes will be discussed later on in our further topics. But for now, let's focus on psychology as a scientific study. So what does it mean when we say that psychology is a scientific study? So it means in here that it follows a scientific method. So I believe scientific method is very much familiar to you guys, since this is not the first time that you've heard of it because it was discussed during your high school days. However, for our lesson, let's go to it one by one. So the first one of the scientific method is that we need to have a problem. So in here, you have to state your problem. So that is the first step in scientific method. The second is you have to gather data from your problem or based from your problem. Third is you have to have at least a hypothesis of what would be the answer of your problem. And next one is you have to verify the hypothesis and draw conclusions afterwards. And of course, after that, you have to have the summary of your findings. So in simple terms, psychology is not just an art or a philosophy. It's actually composed of a scientific study of the following. It has a statement of a problem, it gathered data, it has a hypothesis, it also verified the hypothesis, it has a conclusion, and lastly, it has a summary of findings. So psychology is not just a philosophy. It's not just a simple art. It's a science as well. It focuses on the human behavior and mental processes. Now let's talk about behavior. Behavior refers to the activity of an organism or individual that can be observed or not observed directly. So we have two terms to verify or to give that kind of behavior. So the first one is covert behavior, which it means that these are behaviors that cannot be observed directly. And we also have overt behavior, which means that these behaviors can be observed directly. So now let's have an example of behaviors that cannot be observed directly. So these are behaviors that, like for example, in simple terms, these are behaviors that is going on during our sleep. Okay, when we are sleeping, these are behaviors that cannot be us as ourselves cannot be observed directly. So this is just a simple example, okay? And then we also have overt behavior, or these are behaviors that can be observed directly. So in simple terms, if you were asked what kind of behavior that cannot be observed directly, it is called covert behavior. And if a behavior can be observed directly, again, it is an overt behavior. So overt behavior is like your behavior in class or your behavior with your siblings, your classmates, and many more. So something that can be observed directly, that is overt behavior. Next is behavior can be classified as conscious or unconscious. When we say conscious, it is something that we are aware of, and unconscious, these are behavior that we are not aware of. So conscious behavior these are the things that we are intended to do and something is voluntary. While unconscious behavior, these are behaviors that we are sometimes are not meant to suppress or repress in to ourselves. So it will not suffice in our awareness. So there are reasons why behaviors can be conscious and unconscious. But for now, for the introduction, again, we have two kinds of behavior, and that is the conscious and the unconscious. Again, I would just like to emphasize the behavior of an organism can be observed, or what we call overt, and cannot be observed, or what we call covert. And behavior can also be classified as conscious, which is something that we are aware of, and unconscious, or something that we are not aware of. Now we know what is a behavior. Let's talk about the historical background of psychology. Well, psychology actually started, psychology started a long years ago. But before that, psychology is actually considered as a young discipline. Well, according to Myers in 1986, psychology is an old discipline, but a young science. So it means that psychology has been going on before. Like what I've mentioned before. Psychology before was considered as a philosophy, something to live by. But nowadays, since scientific method has been implemented, we have now what we called, that's why it's now called science. So that's why, but Bachelor of Science in Psychology is now being offered because nowadays it is now considered as a science. Again, it is called a science because it uses a scientific method. So again, in Myers in 1986, so he believes that psychology has been going on before, but it's now considered as a science. However, it's still considered as a young science because of the researchers has been going on just recently. So that is in Myers in 1986. Now, in early Greek philosophers, they believed that the nature of mind, the soul, and the body, and of human experience, this is what we call as a psychology nowadays. So that the nature of the mind, the soul, the body, and the human experience are all before were just a belief of the early Greek philosophers. Like what I've mentioned a while ago, that's why it is called a philosophy before. But now it has a scientific study so that it now becomes a science. So that's what the early Greek philosophers believes rather. Another one is the nativist view of René Descartes. So nativist view, in here, ideas or knowledge are innate at birth. So René Descartes is one of the famous mathematicians before. So he believes that our behavior, our ideas, our knowledge, all of it are actually innate in us at birth. So that's what he believes psychology is all about. But when John Locke came in, he has a very different kind of view because for him, it is an empiricist view. So if René Descartes has a nativist view, John Locke has here as an empiricist view. So in here, he believes that ideas or knowledge are all acquired, and that's why we have the term tabula rasa, which is we have this blank tablet or blank slate. So in here, just to emphasize the difference between the two, René Descartes focuses on the innate, that everything, the ideas or knowledge are all innate in us at birth, while John Locke believes that everything is everything, the ideas, the knowledge are all acquired and is something that can be written in us like a tabula rasa or a blank slate or a tablet, and that's why it's called empiricist view. So again, René Descartes, nativist view. John Locke empiricist's view. Actually, that is just the first part of our lesson for today. So like what I've mentioned, this is just the beginning and this is just the introduction. So I hope you learn a lot from this lesson. So let me know if you have any questions, just leave me a comment below. So thank you very much for watching and I'll see you on my next topic. Bye for now.